Imagine your arm is a whip, not a rigid stick. Look at how a stick generates force. Many amateur players swing like a stick. Now watch the whip. Listen to the sound. Today, we're going to teach you how to power loop a backspin ball with your forehand. I want every player to have a powerful loop drive in their arsenal. Why do amateur players often make mistakes when they try to use power? Because you go straight for the power shot. You should lift with spin first, then drive through it. Most amateur players now either execute a high, spinny loop or a fast, forward loop. So, how do professional players manage to land their power loops so consistently? Let's break it down into two phases. The first phase is brushing the ball at contact. Brushing the ball at contact is the most crucial part. Let's separate these two phases, the lift then drive. So, how do we execute the lift? During your backswing, do I tell you to pull straight back, or to drop the racket behind your hip? Why do you need to drop it behind your hip? Let me show you. If you just pull the racket straight back and then move forward, you'll only contact the back of the ball. And your swing path will be a straight line. What I want is an arc. Watch, when I drop the racket behind my hip, the swing path naturally creates an arc. This is the key to generating good brush. A simple drive can be more of a direct forward and up motion. But a loop requires an arc. We need to create a curved, parabolic swing path. So, if you just pull straight back, you won't create that necessary arc. When I drop the racket behind me, by the time it comes forward to contact the ball, it has already traced a semicircle. If you just pull straight back or drop it straight down, your swing will be too linear. Straight back to straight forward, or straight down to straight up, doesn't create a proper arc. The curve is too small. When you bring the racket from behind you, around your hip to the contact point, the path you trace is the semicircle you need. This semicircular path is the key to ensuring the ball lands on the table. Let me ask you a question. At the very instant of contact when looping, should you be using a lot of force, or should you relax? The answer is to relax, because the harder you hit, the faster the ball flies off your racket. Generating brush and applying raw power are inherently contradictory. Of course, if the incoming ball has little spin, you can use full power through the whole stroke. That's fine. But when you're receiving a quality serve or a heavy push from your opponent, you need to first grip the ball with spin, and then drive forward. The key to this lift is that when your racket meets the ball, you want to feel like the ball is being sucked into the rubber. On an incoming ball, for example, you can't just smash into it with a hard racket face. That will only make the ball leave your racket too quickly. Instead, as the ball is dropping, you should feel like you're catching it on your racket, letting it dwell for a moment. At the moment of contact, your hand can't be tense. The more tension, the quicker the ball leaves the racket. So at contact, you shouldn't be applying brute force, even when you're executing a power loop. What you need to do is find the correct contact point. If you make contact on the lower half of the racket face, you're very likely to hit the net. If you make contact in the center, you're just using power to overcome the spin. If you make contact on the upper half of the racket face, you'll be able to brush the ball properly. We aren't pro players. A male pro can hit the lower half and use pure power to overcome the spin and still land the ball. We're amateur players, we have to be realistic. To use power to overcome spin, you need perfect positioning, timing, spacing, contact, and anticipation. Everything has to be perfect to execute that kind of loop. So, after you've located the ball, you need to instantly transfer power from your fingers to the racket. Right at contact, your fingers apply pressure to brush the ball. So, at the exact moment your racket makes contact with the ball, can you try relaxing everything else? Just use a little bit of finger pressure. Can you do that? If you can't feel it, you can practice it in separate parts. First, complete your backswing, then, at contact, apply pressure with your fingers. Get your backswing ready, and at the instant of contact, your upper arm, forearm, wrist, and shoulder should all be relaxed. It's just a small, explosive burst of power from the fingers. A quick snap to brush and lift the ball up. Once you've lifted it up, then we can talk about the drive. Otherwise, even if you can do it while standing still, once you start moving and face a shorter, deeper, or floating ball, you'll still hit the net. A backspin ball wants to drop quickly off your racket. You must use your fingers to counteract its downward trajectory and spin. Once you've successfully countered that and lifted the ball, then you can follow through with your power loop. Let me demonstrate again. A backspin ball drops downwards after it bounces, and it drops very quickly. This is when you must use your fingers. I'm just doing the backswing, and then using my fingers to generate the force that counteracts its downward speed. This applies to both penhold and shakehand grips. Once you have this initial touch, you can apply as much power as you want afterward. Without this initial touch, your power loop will be inconsistent. You might only make it if you're lucky or the opponent's spin happens to be just right for you. If you use your arm for power and just slam into the ball at contact, your fingers won't have time to act because the ball leaves the racket too quickly. The second key element is the arm. So, as your fingers provide that pressure, you need to drive into the ball as you brush. If you only brush without forward drive, the rubber will slip, especially against heavy spin. You have to drive into the ball to create friction. For any loop, don't tense up and use power during the backswing. You'll lose all your power by the time you make contact. As soon as you feel that initial bite from your fingers, your entire arm's power must become focused. Look, this is wrong. Tensing up on the backswing, and then the shot is weak. The feeling should be a relaxed backswing, followed by an explosion of power at contact. I'm not even using my body. This is similar to how many amateurs play, high center of gravity, not using the body. And you can still generate this much power. You need to find a completely relaxed feeling in your backswing. And then at contact, feel a distinct whipping motion in your arm. Don't just go through the motions. It's a snap feeling. Imagine your arm as a whip, not a rigid stick. Look at how a stick generates force. Many amateur players swing like a stick. Now watch the whip. Listen to the sound. What's the characteristic of a whip? It has a kinetic sequence, right? Let me show you a stick-like swing. Now I'll show you a whip-like swing. One swing never gets that through the blade feeling, while the other gets it very easily. A whip-like motion means the upper arm leads first, then the forearm accelerates. In slow motion, it should look like this. Without using the body, the arm motion should be like this. I'm just demonstrating a more refined version. You need to have this snap feeling. Try to loop the ball like a whip. At first, you might not even land it. But this is how you'll learn to transfer your power through the ball and fully release it. Don't just swing to a fixed endpoint. That's for beginners. The third key point, how to actually apply this power. For all loops, you must use the incoming force of the ball. In table tennis, borrowing force is the highest form of power. When I demonstrated earlier, I was standing quite upright. For me, that was about using power to overcome spin. For a backspin ball, the key is finding the right contact point to borrow force. I need to use my racket to intercept the ball as it's dropping. So, if you want to intercept it, you must get your racket low and make contact at that point. You must have the mindset of intercepting the ball. So why do you sometimes whiff the ball? This is very common in matches. Because in practice, you're relaxed, but in a match, you get tense. If your backswing is already high, and your opponent gives you a soft, floating ball, you're bound to rush. You rush, you swing too early, and by the time the ball drops, you've missed it completely. In table tennis, a topspin ball is coming at you, so you extend your arm forward to meet it. It's like clapping your hands. The topspin ball comes forward, you move forward, and you get solid contact. A backspin ball is clearly dropping after the bounce. So don't you have to meet it with an upward swing to time it correctly? The better your opponent, the heavier the backspin, and the lower the ball will stay after the bounce. A beginner's push might bounce up to a high point, but a good player's push will just die after it hits the table. The biggest difference between pros and amateurs is the use of the body and center of gravity. Your body movement must ensure you can contact the backspin ball at the optimal point. So, to get proper timing and force, you need to use a deep lunge and drop your shoulder. The ball's trajectory is downwards, not just forwards as it might appear. Therefore, my racket must be moving from low to high in order to intercept it. Only then can I intercept it and execute a power loop. If you don't lunge, your legs and center of gravity will always be high. If your shoulder doesn't drop, you can only loop balls with light spin. You absolutely must lower your center of gravity. The higher the level of play, the lower you need to be. Many amateurs actually have better touch and feel for the ball than we pros do. But it falls apart when you have to move. You can't handle it when the opponent varies the play, because your body can't support your hand. Every shot should be practiced until it becomes subconscious. In a match, if the return comes here, you should automatically lower your center of gravity without thinking. The fourth key point, the body. Does the body lead the arm, or does the arm lead the body? The body leads the arm. Why do amateurs feel like looping is so much effort? Because you're always using your arm to pull your body. Your body is only following along a little, while your arm is doing all the work. You're tensing up on the backswing and tensing up again on the follow-through. Your body is just along for the ride and not contributing much. It's like a small car trying to pull a big truck, it won't work. This power from rotating your waist and thrusting your hip is very brief. It's not a slow 1-2, but an instantaneous 1. The body movement should feel like Latin dancing, short and explosive. But right now, your looping motion is slow and deliberate. You need to have that explosive snap. Your body rotation must be fast. It's impossible for your body to be fast while your arm is slow. Your body's rotation will instinctively accelerate your arm, creating total body acceleration. If you only try to accelerate with your arm, to a professional, it just looks like you're flailing. Watch how I generate power. It's all done by using my hips and body to create an explosive force right as the ball arrives. Try to feel it. When you tense your hips and glutes, and your waist thrusts forward explosively instead of just swaying, see how fast your arm becomes. It's actually very simple. Acceleration comes from the body leading the arm. If your body isn't fast, how can your arm be fast? Brace your core, load your legs, tighten your glutes, and explode with your hips and waist. Use the speed of your body to accelerate your arm, and see if you can execute a good loop.